creating professional development plans. Today we've got Michael Hughes with us from London. We have myself, Tanya Anderson, and we have our special guest speaker who is going to be announced in just a moment, although I'm sure you all know who it is. Our previous sessions also that we've covered in the past are on copyright in both the US and Canada, knowledge services, and we've got a couple more sessions already lined up and we're excited to tell you about those. But without further ado, Michael, if you could jump in here.
Sure, thank you, Tanya. So just to offer a little context for today's session, we are Sutron Global, proud sponsors of today's webinar. The reason for these sessions is a desire to give something back to the information professionals that we interact with on a daily basis, and which we have done so over the last decades, particularly at the current time, the requirement really to give something back really and offer some value to you all. So just very briefly, Sutron Global is a provider of cloud-based library, knowledge and information management systems to corporate and special libraries across North America. You can see examples of some of the systems that we offer on the next slide, and core to our offering is our ILS and our discovery platforms, but we also have flexible solutions for archive management, knowledge management, and digital resource management. So as I say, part of the reason for putting on these webinars is our way really of giving something back to the industry that we have served for so long. And on the next slide is a little bit more information on what else we're doing during the current pandemic as part of that same initiative. We're offering new clients financial assistance for onboarding to our systems, existing clients free consulting and training and other services, as well as the current webinar series and more. So if anybody would like to find out more about us, on the next slide, you'll be able to find out how you can do so through the various channels are open on our different social media platforms and our website. But without too much further ado, let me throw it back to Tanya to introduce our main guest speaker today. And I'm really looking forward to this one. So Tanya, back to you.
Thank you, Michael. So as everyone I'm sure knows, our guest speaker today is coming to us from the Toronto Lawyers Association. Joan Rataic-Lang is the Executive Director of the TLA and Library Director of the Courthouse Library. She is a great proponent of professional development, both as an avid participant and as an enthusiastic provider, having been on organizing committees of several national conferences and as a speaker both locally and nationally. Joan obtained her MLIS from McGill, and in 2018, she received her CAE designation. She has been at the Toronto Lawyers Association since 2010. Before that, she managed large law firm libraries and also worked in sales, education, and executive search. If variety is the spice of life, Joan's career has been a highly seasoned bowl of chili. So without further ado, your professional development mapping your journey to career happiness. Joan?
Thank you very much, Tanya. Tony, thank you very much for inviting me. Michael as well. I'm really happy to participate in this very worthwhile series. We haven't got a lot of time, so let me dive right in. Now, if life were as simple as this picture and we could see exactly what lay ahead of us, none of us would be here. Why I am speaking to you about PD plans is going to come out in a second. So you're wondering, what the heck does this picture taken from atop a mountain range in northern Spain have to do with anything? Well, the first thing is I love to walk. In 2013, I walked the 750-kilometer long Camino de Santiago de Compostela. For the Americans in the audience, that's 500 miles. That's in northern Spain. Number two, a few years ago when I was getting my CAE designation, I learned about PD plans and thought they were so valuable, I've been spreading the word about them since. So now you're still wondering how the two connect. Clearly, the walk in Spain was a journey, but a career is also a journey. So while I talk about career planning, I will illustrate with photos from my trip, which means no copyright has been infringed. All pictures were taken by me, mainly in Spain and a few in Portugal when I did a shorter walk. Now, as far as my career goes, I've never had a PD plan, but always had an idea in my head. And most of the time, I was able to make moves that were satisfactory, but sometimes not. Those nots have been a big learning experience for me. Having a PD plan might have helped me avoid some missteps. I am perpetually optimistic, so what others call mistakes, I call learning opportunities. Now, the photo you're looking at right now was of my favorite day. We were walking on top of a mountain range. I felt like I could reach out and touch the clouds. Some days, work even feels like that. I really enjoy what I do, and hopefully your career gives you that same kind of joy. The agenda for today is quite simple. I want you to know what a PD plan is, understand its benefits, learn how to create one, and then the hardest part, obviously, is implementation. So just a little advice on how to implement. If anything is foggy or unclear, we will have time at the end for questions. Also, there's a handout that comes with this. It's got room for you to take notes and also has links to additional information. Next slide, please. In its very simplest terms, a PD plan accomplishes three things. It figures out where are you now, where do you want to be in 5 years, and what steps will it take to get there. In our case, this map showed us where we would be walking the next few days. In your case, you are looking a little further out than that. Next slide, please. Believe it or not, there are paths to Santiago, or caminos, all across Europe. Many ways to get there. Now, why is it good to have a plan? Obviously, we've all followed a map at some point in our life, or I hope we have. A plan or a map helps us get to our destination the most efficient way. A great career doesn't happen just by itself. A successful career takes time, effort, and most importantly, planning to get it right. So what I'm talking about is not just some vague idea in your head. I'm talking about a written summary of your ambitions, your aspirations, and your objectives. By clearly setting defined goals and mapping out the steps you need to get to where you want to be, you can more easily navigate towards the vision you've laid for yourself. And again, why must it be written and not just that idea in your head? Well, it gives you something to refer back to. It helps you see your progress. And also, it's really satisfying to tick off career objectives off the list and actually see the progress you're making. Next slide. Now, self-knowledge is a really important part of a PD plan. And that's if you want to feel like you can reach out and touch the clouds. I think we will all agree that we have to be true to ourselves in the work we do. And self-knowledge is fundamental to that. Now, there are many ways to learn more about yourself. In the handout, there are a number of questions under the heading, Determine Who You Are. How well do you know yourself? I'd encourage you to go through them and answer them not only as they relate to your current job, but to previous jobs. Why have you changed jobs? If you have not had a long work history, start with part-time jobs as a student. Write it all down. Frame this in terms of where am I now and how did I get here? Self-knowledge includes dislikes. In our case, we knew we didn't like walking on these ugly cobblestones. Now, this hostel where we stayed was one of our best experiences. It was small. It only accommodated 12 people. We had a wonderful meal, even though there was no electricity. Knowing why we enjoyed it helped us make future decisions. The same way in your career, when you learn more about yourself, you can make future decisions. For example, values are a really important consideration. I'm probably happier in this job than I have been in any other job. And that's because I see the social good of what I'm doing. It's extremely satisfying for me to help the people who come into the courthouse library. Now, this assessment is what is connected to the career happiness part of the title. If you understand yourself, then you can make choices that will make you happy going forward. Next slide, please. So what we've been doing up to this point, if you're doing a PD plan, is easy because you've been looking from the present backwards. But the harder question is, where do you want to be in 5 years? I always knew that I wanted to manage my own library. What are your aspirations? I want you to take some time when we're done or tonight or whenever and write them down. And now is the time to dream, not say, I can't, maybe, oh, I'm not sure. It's easy to second guess ourselves. The whole point of a PD plan is to figure out how to make those aspirations real. And if any of you in the audience are closer to retirement, I would suggest you use this as a professional development plan and work towards planning for a happy and successful retirement. Next slide. Now remember, we are not actually creating our plan yet. We are still in the self-discovery stage. So how can you help yourself to know more about you? There are a multitude of self-assessment tools available, just like walking into the best little shop on the Camino that had everything we needed. Be it a Myers-Briggs, DISC, Colby, Big Five, Gallup, pick any one of these and try them. It can be informative, maybe even a little bit of fun, but I do say try it. The next thing you want to do is a personal SWOT. I think we all know what SWOT means, but I'll cover that. When you're walking every day, your feet can be both a strength and a weakness. When you're thinking about your career, it's a little harder to determine your strengths and weaknesses than just examining your feet. So, what are your strengths? What would your supervisor say about you? How about your colleagues, your friends and family? And what did doing those self-assessments like the DISC or the Big Five tell you about yourself? Those same tools will also tell you about your weaknesses. The other side of the SWOT is opportunities and threats. For me, being a city girl and having lots of sheep filling the road that I was on felt like a bit of a threat. In the modern working world, threats are a little different than that. When you're determining opportunities and threats, you are looking at those things external to you, things that are out of your control, things like the political situation, the economic culture, technological developments, and the competitive marketplace. So, now you're going to be conducting a gap analysis. Given where you are today and where you'd like to be, list all the gaps that prevent you from being able to achieve your ideal position. With a good backpack, some walking sticks, and comfortable hiking boots, getting to the end would have been much harder. Those were our gaps. If you aren't sure what your gaps are, how can you figure them out? Look at job descriptions. What do they tell you about knowledge, skills, and abilities that are needed for a job? What level of experience and education is required? Read the profiles of LinkedIn for people who hold your dream job. Where have they worked? What organizations are they a member of? Talk to people within your organization and network to understand what path they have taken. Both the Special Libraries Association and American Association of Law Libraries have competencies guides. Take a look at them. Next, you will be defining your ideal position by looking at career anchors. Career anchors, if figured out in advance, will help you make some difficult decisions. Geography is a career anchor. What kind of lifestyle you want? What are you looking for in job security? Service and work. What kind of organization or employer are you comfortable with? What matches your values and beliefs? A few other things to consider are employer culture, size, benefits package, and even your personal situation will affect your priorities. Maybe you want to start a family, go back to school, or maybe take more time take more time to babysit grandkids, or possibly move across the country. So I, in a very short time, told you a lot about figuring out what you want and what parameters are around that. I'm giving you a lot of ideas here, lots of options. You don't have to do it all, but I suggest that, like my friend Erica here, you make this a thoughtful and considered process. After all, you're looking at your future. So on this next slide, we won't linger. I actually did a PD plan, and just to prove I did one, there it is. We'll jump quickly to the next slide. So a PD plan is on one piece of paper, and this template is in the handout along with the URL of where I found it on the web. So this is what you want to get to be able to condense everything into a plan like this, but you're not done yet. The very bottom box is called the action plan, and it's a quick outline. In your case, you may want to make it a longer additional document, and since I'm talking to information professionals, I'll call it an appendix. So we talked about the gaps between your skills, your knowledge, your expertise, and what you need to get to the next job. So you're going to be doing this gap analysis. And I want you to always think creatively. There's lots of opportunities out there. And just like these people who put a pop machine at the entrance to a town on the end of a long extension cord. They were thinking very creatively because, believe me, when you've been walking all day drinking tepid water, a cold pop was beautiful. So the first way that we can fill our gaps is through education. Our friend Ben was learning to make crepes by doing. That's informal training. In culinary school, he would have received formal training. Now, what kind of training opportunities are available to you? If you work for a large employer, I suspect that they may offer courses. And then, of course, there's tons of external courses, online learning opportunities that are virtual. Even if you subscribe to LinkedIn Premium, it has a whole collection of really good courses. And then there are certificate programs, either through associations or universities. There are all sorts of opportunities. So there also is the opportunity to learn by doing, or on-the-job training. I knew that wearing my sweatshirt backwards looked very odd, but my back got hot under my backpack. So this look worked for me. It allowed me to get the job of the daily walk done. In your case, there are probably projects to complete. Can you talk to your boss, your supervisor, whoever, about skills that you want to develop? Think creatively. Maybe you should be making suggestions of what you can do. Role models and mentors are really important. But not just saying I have a mentor, making sure you spend focused time with your manager, your mentors, and even your peers. Volunteering and associations are a great way to develop your skills. These people who ran the hostels where we stayed were all volunteers. Now, just because you don't get paid doesn't mean that volunteering is not a valid and valuable experience. Associations are always looking for volunteers. And of course, it doesn't cost you anything except for the time that you may be dedicating. I have the feeling that this itinerant falconer probably had another job before he started doing this. Have you considered lateral roles that will connect you to your desired role? So job changes. Sometimes one job doesn't get you exactly where you want to be. You may have to do a little zig to zag kind of thing in your career. So you hopefully have set out some goals, and now you have to work everything into a schedule, taking into account your deadlines, the fact that you have other commitments like work and family, And essentially what you're doing now is putting this all in an action plan. Ours was the day-to-day walking schedule. So you have your big goal in mind, but it's easy to get caught up in the day-to-day of life and forget where you are going. Our goal was to reach the cathedral in Santiago. So a little advice on implementation. And I know this, you're going to say, this sounds easy to say. Don't give up. But you need to be self-motivated. This is not easy. I acknowledge that. But you can help yourself along the way by doing a few things. The shell is the symbol of the Camino, and it's actually everywhere you look. So all you have to do is follow the shell, literally, and it tells you where you're going. It's not that easy for you. So you have to do what works for you to keep your goals front of mind. Find a way to remind yourself of your daily, weekly, monthly goals, be it post-it notes on the fridge or alerts in your cell phone. You know yourself. Do what works for you. Now, it's important to prioritize. It can feel really overwhelming when you look at everything I've presented and the plan that comes out of that. So you have to decide which goals are most important and tackle them first. But the most important thing of all of that is don't neglect yourself. You still need to take care of yourself. Downtime replenishes the body and the soul. Now, you can use technology to help yourself. That's the kind of technology we had, 100-year-old markers along the way. In the handout, I've listed a number of websites and apps that you can use to set your goals and track your progress. Now, it's also important to stay accountable. So if you share your plans with family and friends, and definitely your mentor, they can help you. They can ask, how are you doing? They can offer support and encouragement, and just be that little bit of extra push that you need. Now, we connected with our friends over dinner every night and planned where we would meet them the next day, so we knew how far we were walking the next day. Keeping a journal is really important. Consider recording your progress in a diary. It can be really useful to get your thoughts, feelings, frustrations, and achievements down on paper. Most importantly, it helps you see how much progress you are actually making. Reward yourself. Celebrate your career achievements, and that'll boost your motivation. So make sure you mark the milestones by treating yourself with something celebratory. Now, remember to evaluate your progress as you are going, and this will help you stay on schedule. It will also keep you updated on how close or far you are from reaching your target. You can also reevaluate at any point in time. This pilgrim realized that a jean jacket and a large shampoo bottle were way too heavy to be carrying in their pack. So with you may have to drop some things, realize that your initial plan was overambitious. That's fine. Remember, this final step is very important. Nothing goes according to plan. So it's important to be flexible. You've evaluated, and you have to be flexible. There are many ways to get to what you want to do. And in our case, we realized we had to be flexible in that it rained a lot. We had to be ready at any instant to get our covers onto our packs. Now, we made it to Santiago twice. We did the full Camino in 2013, and then in 2017, we walked from Porto to Santiago. The first time we made it, it was hard, but there was also something exhilarating about the experience. We must have loved it, otherwise we wouldn't have gone back in 2017. And had the pandemic not struck, I'd be walking 300 kilometers in Spain this July. You too can reach your goals. Take the time to learn about yourself, make a plan, but be prepared to adjust. You're human, things happen. Don't be too hard on yourself. Don't give up. And in the end, I hope that this will help you map your journey to career happiness. Thank you.
Perfect.
Are there
Thank
any
you,
questions?
Joan.
You're welcome.
There's certainly a lot of walking there, and certainly a lot of good food for thought, and it has prompted a number of questions. So we'll get right onto those just in the interest of time. You mentioned a mentor on partway through that. Someone's asking, what advice can you offer on how to find a mentor?
I think one of the fundamental things about a mentor is you have to trust them. So it has to be someone you feel comfortable with, be it depending on where you are in your career. It can be a professor at university. It can be someone who you aspire to do what they do, a work colleague. If you're more senior in your career, sometimes you may say it's hard to find a mentor. My friend who I walked with, she and I co-mentor each other because we trust each other, and we have careers that have taken divergent paths, even though we both started as law librarians. So you have to find that person, trust them, and make sure you meet with them monthly, quarterly, whatever. Pick a regular meeting and time and have lunch, coffee, whatever. But you have to pursue it and make sure you stay on top of it.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Another one's come through on the questions box, and if anybody else does have a burning question, they can submit that through the questions box to the right side of your screen now. But this one is saying that this person leads a team, but they're not sure if they want to talk about career paths. It may encourage members of their team to leave. What would you say to that? Or how could you offer some advice about that?
I would suggest that those people who are the type of person who get value from one job and move to the next job will leave whether or not you have this discussion with them. There's something called the 4 careers concept, and there are some people who will start working somewhere and stay there for 30 years, but there are other people who value the experience they get somewhere and then move on. So if you have this discussion with the team you lead, you are listening to them, you're being empathetic to their needs, and you're helping them achieve success. They'll be happier at work, they'll be more productive if they're doing things that they enjoy, and ultimately they may leave, but you know what? You'll have probably developed a really good relationship with someone by being that supportive leader. So I think it's just makes it better for everyone if you actually do have that conversation and are supportive, and see what happens from that.
Okay, thank you. That's great. Someone else is asking now that, that I think they have trouble imagining themselves in a role until they actually get there and do it. So the question is there a strategy to help you envision a goal in the future?
You know, yeah, sometimes that's hard, but I think that some of the things I suggested will start helping you see what you actually enjoy. Sometimes that whole self-assessment process, and learning more about yourself. And I know Myers-Briggs, you know, some people have issues with Myers-Briggs, but it is informative in that it gives you ideas. And it says you might be good at this, or you might enjoy that, or your personality traits say you should be doing this type of work. So that self-assessment may open some things up to you that you hadn't really considered. So it will inform you. And then you can do some of the other things I said, like looking at job boards and LinkedIn to see what others do and what kind of opportunities there are out there, so that you start saying, well, okay, this is what I like to do, and I'm seeing where the work is that aligns with my interests, and it starts helping you develop those goals and that plan in a way that makes sense for you.
Perfect. Thank you so much. I think just in the interest of time, I'd better hand it back over to Tanya, but thank you everybody for your questions. Tanya, if you'd like to just take it from there, thank you.
Of course, thank you, Michael. So if you do have any questions and there are any remaining, we'll make sure that to get those to Joan, and we'll see if we can't include any answers in the email that will go out tomorrow. please feel free to follow us on social media, find out about the next few sessions. Our next session will be with Deb Hunt again, and that one will be on digital asset management. And it sounds very interesting just by the title. I'll give you a little tip about that. So please join us on June 2nd, same time. All right. And so finally, if you need to get a hold of us, here are emails to get a hold of everybody. We'll be sending out a copy of the PowerPoint slides and the video so everybody can reflect back and get back in there and get what they need out of it. So join us on SutronGlobal.com for our new knowledge services blog. We've got lots of great stuff in there and of course, all of our news. So thank you again, everyone, for joining us. We really appreciate you being here, and we hope you all stay safe